We've got some breaking news just in.
Savannah Guthrie's mother, Nancy Guthrie, missing
Most reporters
day.
covered this case from a green room. They read the briefing notes, did the segment, caught a flight home. That is not what happened here. One reporter stayed, he went back, again and again. He walked the streets. He knocked on doors that didn't answer and came back the next day. He flew drone footage over the neighborhood. He sat in the Arizona heat, waiting for something to move in a community that had gone silent after one of its own vanished. By day 62 of Nancy Guthrie's disappearance, that reporter had earned something most journalists never do in a case like this: trust. The kind of trust that makes a neighbor open her front door and say, "I need to tell you something." Her name is Laura Gargano. She lives near Nancy Guthrie's home in the Catalina Foothills north of Tucson. She sat down on camera under her own name, fully on the record, and described something she had personally observed. Not a feeling, not a rumor passed down the street. Something specific, a property, a pattern, a timeline that drops directly into the window investigators care about most. We are going to walk through everything she said. We are going to place it inside the larger investigative picture that has been taking shape since February, and we are going to connect it to something that, if you have been following this case, is going to land hard. Because what Laura saw from her front window isn't just a neighbor's instinct, it lines up with something federal investigators were reportedly already moving on quietly, something that has barely been publicly connected to her account until now. Everything in this video is built on verified reporting and named on-record sources. Where it is analysis or inference, it will be labeled clearly. Brian Enton is a national investigative reporter with News Nation. He embedded himself physically in Tucson. He walked the perimeter behind Nancy's property. He used drone technology to document the surrounding neighborhood. He cultivated sources inside and adjacent to the FBI's active investigation. Day 62 puts us at early April 2026. Nancy Guthrie has been missing for over 2 months. No arrest, no public suspect, no explanation. The Pima County Sheriff, Chris Nanos, described this publicly as a targeted abduction. That word matters. Targeted means deliberate. It means someone selected Nancy Guthrie specifically. Someone understood her routine, her schedule, the geography around her home, the right moment. And then Sheriff Nanos followed that statement with something remarkable. He admitted that 2 months in, with full investigative resources and FBI involvement, he still did not fully understand the nature of the targeting. He could not say with certainty why Nancy was chosen. Was it personal? Was it connected to her family? Was it something she knew, something she had, something someone believed she had access to? He did not know. That admission changed the weight of everything around it. When law enforcement does not yet understand why someone was targeted, every detail in the immediate environment becomes potentially significant. Every anomaly near her home, every unfamiliar presence, every change in the neighborhood's rhythm in the days around February first becomes a piece of a puzzle that investigators cannot afford to ignore. But that is the context in which Laura Gargano decided to speak. The Catalina Foothills is not a transient neighborhood. It is established, affluent, and residential in a way that makes it self-aware. Homes are spaced, people have privacy, but they also notice things. They notice unfamiliar vehicles. They notice when something changes. And critically, for what we are about to discuss, they notice rental properties because rental properties in that neighborhood are not common. Laura made this explicit. This is not a community with high tenant turnover. When someone rents in the Catalina Foothills, the neighborhood registers it. And when that person leaves, the neighborhood registers that too. Someone had been renting a property near Nancy Guthrie's home. Laura knew it was a rental. She was aware of the car that was regularly parked there. Just the presence that had become part of the neighborhood's background. And then, in the days immediately surrounding February 1st, that presence was gone. The car was gone. The property had gone quiet in a way that read to her as vacant, not temporarily empty, but departed. She was careful about precision. She could not confirm the exact date the departure happened, whether it was just before Nancy vanished or in the immediate days after. She did not overstate it. She said the timing was proximate. Both events, the disappearance and the departure, landed inside the same narrow window. She raised this with Brian Enton unprompted. He did not ask about a rental property. She brought it up herself, which means it had been sitting with her since February. Something about the overlap she could not put down. Something that felt like more than coincidence. but that she had no official channel to report. So, when a national investigative reporter who she had seen working her street for weeks showed up at her door, she told him, "To understand why this carries the weight it does, you need to understand what Bob Keeger explained on that same day." Keeger is a retired SWAT expert with a background in tactical operations. He was not speculating. He was applying professional framework to the observable facts. An empty or recently vacated property near a crime scene, Keeger explained, fits the operational profile of a surveillance staging location. For a targeted abduction to execute successfully, the people responsible need intelligence gathered in advance. They need to know the target's routine, the neighborhood's rhythm, find the exact window of vulnerability. That intelligence requires physical proximity over time without attracting suspicion. A rental property solves that problem. It provides legitimate, unremarkable presence. A car in the driveway is expected. A tenant who keeps to themselves is unremarkable. And when the operation concludes, the staging position is abandoned, the car disappears, the property goes quiet. Keeger was not asserting this is what happened. He was identifying the operational logic. And that logic fits what Laura described with a precision that is difficult to set aside. There is something else. Brian Enton has reported that a second camera exists near Nancy Guthrie's property, a camera beyond the Google Nest footage that was initially publicized. The FBI has that footage. The FBI has said nothing publicly about what it shows. In an active case, FBI silence is not passive. It is strategic. They have information they are not surfacing because surfacing it would compromise something they are still building. Active silence in an investigation of this profile means active pursuit. And then there is this. Using a source described as close to the FBI investigation, Brian Enton reported separately that federal investigators have been asking neighbors about a resident who moved out before Nancy disappeared. Read that again. The FBI is conducting active canvassing about a specific departure from the neighborhood. This is not online speculation. This is a credentialed investigative reporter with documented law enforcement sourcing, reporting active federal inquiry into someone who left. We are being precise about sourcing. When the FBI inquiry comes from a single unnamed source. Single source. Credible journalist, documented track record, but one source. Weigh it accordingly. What we can say about the intersection is this. Laura Gargano, named on camera, on record, identified a rental property from which someone departed in the days around the kidnapping. Brian Enton's source reported the FBI is asking neighbors about a departure from the neighborhood proximate to the same event. Two independent data points. Same phenomenon, a neighborhood where rentals are rare, a departure that registered, a timeline that lands in the exact window that matters. If those two data points point to the same property, and we are not asserting that, we are naming the possibility. Then Laura Gargano did not just share a neighbor's observation. She identified from the ground something that federal investigators are reportedly already pursuing. Bob Keeger told us what that kind of property could represent operationally. A trained tactical expert connecting the framework to the facts. Nancy Guthrie has been missing for 62 days. No arrest, no public suspect. The investigation is active enough that the FBI is reportedly still in her neighborhood, asking questions about who was there and when they stopped being there. Laura Gargano went on record. Brian Enton stayed in Tucson. The pieces are on the table. If you know anything about a rental property in the Catalina Foothills that was vacated around February 1st, the Pima County Sheriff's Department and the FBI's Tucson field office both have active tip lines. Your identity